Yo, what is up, everybody? We are back with round 2 of Daniel's PDGA Junior Disc Golf World Championships rounds. This time we find ourselves at a very familiar place at Peter Pan. If you guys have been following the channel, he was able to play Peter Pan earlier this year in March for Monkey Island. That tournament was a 20-hole layout, if I'm not mistaken, and that one had a variety of shots, long shots, short shots, so it offered the kids a challenging but yet fun tournament. So for Junior Worlds, the layout was 18 holes, and it was much more scoreable. And coming into this round, Daniel felt really confident. He felt that he was able to score on this course a little bit more than Jones West. This layout, in my opinion, almost fit more of a forehand player, even though the shots were for both backhand and forehand. It kind of played into Daniel's strengths. So hope you all enjoy this round. We'll go throughout together, and I'm going to turn it over again to the TD, and he will get the players announced, and we're off.
Good morning, and welcome to Day 2 of competition here at the 2025 PDGA Junior World Championships presented by Dynamic Disc. Currently, we're at the 9:48 tee time with our MJ10 division, and starting us off from Briarfield, Alabama, Nash Freeman.
So Nash here, who you guys see on the video, he actually has a twin brother by the name of Owen, and Daniel actually got to meet both Nash and Owen last year in Tulsa. He was able to play with them, I think, one round on the same card, if I'm not mistaken.
Go Nash.
Up next on the tee from Round Rock, Texas, Austin King.
Austin here is a lefty, and man, can this kid throw. He has a pretty smooth form, and it just looks sweet when a lefty throws.
Great throw.
Third on the tee from Carrboro, North Carolina, Finley Weaver.
Finley's another one of those players from last year's Tulsa Junior Worlds. Although Daniel didn't get to play with him at all last year, we met his dad and him at the end of round 4. Daniel, at the end of the last round last year, was a bit upset because he knew he didn't make the cut for Saturday. And as we were walking back to the car, we were parked by Finley's parents, and Finley's dad came over, talked to Daniel for a little bit. So it was really cool for him to kind of didn't know Daniel, didn't know me, and came over and talked to Daniel for a bit.
And rounding off the 9:48 tee time from Garden City, Kansas, Daniel Beatriz.
And we have Daniel here rounding up the card. And after this throw, we will get going. Solid throw for Daniel there off the tee. Just went a little bit long of the basket, but still in the circle. These are those putts he's used to practicing at home, typically makes them. So, as I mentioned at the end of round 1, as you guys all saw, he was a bit upset with a few of his throws, a few of his putts. So, he had gotten into his head a little bit. So, we had, as I mentioned on round 1, his mom and I talked to him after that round, and he felt better. He was in better spirits. So coming into this round, he was pretty positive. He was excited because, as I mentioned, he played Peter Pan earlier in March, so he kind of had an idea of the layout of what the holes looked like. Outside of a few changes, like there was 18A, that hole wasn't being thrown, but regular 18 was normal. I think hole 5, we played to a different basket this time. Hole 6 was played from a different tee pad. But outside of that, everything else was pretty similar to Monkey Island. I think there might have been one more hole that was tweaked up a little bit. But it was a course that played, I think, as I mentioned, to Daniel's strengths. So after hole 1, Daniel was able to finish with a par, so not bad at all, which could have been a birdie. So round 1, he could have started off with a birdie. Round 2, he could have started off with a birdie. But a par is not bad at all. So we're moving on to hole 2, 372-foot par 4. Daniel had a really good throw off the tee. I think he was throwing a Z-Lite nuke. On his approach, he was going with his zone OS, a soft zone OS, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was a good disc choice. He was just going to swing it around the tree that you see here in front of him. But he just threw it a little bit low. So unfortunately there, then his second approach wasn't short. He was within about 5 to 7 feet. Well, I see the whiskers. No, so he was close. So his putt was just a little bit low and to the right, so it didn't catch. So after this hole, he went with a bogey. So through 2 holes, he was +1. And you'll be able to see here throughout the video that he was a little bit upset. He knew that one should have probably been a par, more than likely a birdie. So me and him were kind of just talking as much as we could. I wanted to make sure he was in his best spirits, having fun, laughing, smiling, because that's when he plays his best, when he's enjoying the game. But when he gets a bit hard on himself is when he struggles a little bit more. So here on hole 3, the basket's right in front, so he has to throw something low that either he's pushing it to the left to come back right, or for a backhand, you're swinging out to the kind of the pine tree bush over to the right and have it fade out right before you get there to skip up to the basket. So Daniel again went with his Z-Lite nuke. Good throw. I think if he would have put a little bit more ante on, he probably would have got a little bit more distance where he would have been inside of the circle. But overall, not bad. He's just outside of the circle where he giving it a soft bid, trying to get it up there where even if he missed it, he's giving himself a 5-footer for a tap and par. So not bad at all. So as I mentioned last year in Tulsa, he was able to play with the 2 twins, Nash and Owen. Really cool kids, really nice kids. They got along with Daniel. It seems like Daniel's able to make friends wherever he goes. Like Smitty jokes around, as long as there's a game of tag going on, Daniel's up for it, and he'll make friends just like that. So that's one of the cool things about Daniel is he will enjoy the round, but also will enjoy playing with others because he just likes to have fun. So moving on to hole 4, 387-foot par 4 for Monkey Island. I want to say this might have been a par 3, but I'd have to go back and look at Daniel's scorecard. So what Daniel's doing here, he's going with his ESP Cicada. So he's trying to play that flex line. He's trying to get it to flex and just land right in the middle of the fairway. Unfortunately, it came out a little bit high with a little bit of hyzer, so it just squeaked out to the right. But if you look at this lie, it's still straight ahead, right at the basket. So what he's choosing to throw here, if I can see the faceplate on this disc, I want to say it's his glow tank. So he's kind of trying to play a little bit of a flex with the tank, and got a really good throw, got the ante he wanted, got the push he wanted. It's just, unfortunately, was a lot of roots as you get close to the green. So he hit one of these roots, which kicked his disc up and just dropped it right there. I think if he wouldn't have hit those, he would have just pushed up maybe 5 to 10 more feet and give himself an easier putt at birdie. So overall, I mean, he gave that putt a really good bid. It just lifted on him, hit the top of the band. But no harm, no foul. I mean, if he's getting out of there with a par, that's really good. You kind of saw him kind of push his hands down. He was kind of showing a little bit of that frustration because he knew he could have gotten a birdie there. So hole 5, 291-foot par 3. This one, the creek on the right behind and to the right of the basket all plays as OB. So one of the things Daniel and I came in talking into this one, if he could flex something down the middle with his nuke or any other disc and he could get that push, he probably would have been pretty close to the basket. I think he had a solid throw here. I was thinking when he got that big flare skip that he had gone OB. He was thinking the same. Fortunately for us, he was pretty close, or he was safe and almost close to that OB line, which you can see there on his right. So you'll see here, he did that round 1, if you all remember. I can't remember if it was hole 7 or 8, where he straddled and then he hit the tree. Or I think on round 1, he hit the bottom of the basket. This one, he hit the tree. So looking back at it, I think we probably, or I shouldn't say I probably should have given some advice of, slow down. You have a little bit, maybe go out to the right, straddle it a little bit more, take a quicker look. I think if he would have hyzered it in there, he probably would have got around it. But he said he felt more comfortable with that straddle ante approach. So again, as long as he felt comfortable with it, I didn't give him any more advice, as long as he knew what he wanted to do and he was confident with it, which he was. It just came out with too much ante, went right into the tree. So unfortunately there he took another bogey. So we're moving on to hole 6. This was one of those holes that was changed up, just like the one before last from Monkey Island. So this one we're playing from a different tee pad, and it's just a dead straight shot. So he's choosing to go with his ESP Cicada, again, trying to play that flex line. Unfortunately, it just came out flat, nose up, so it just hyzered out on him, which it wasn't bad. I mean, he was just outside of that circle about 15 feet or so, so it just gave him a decent bid to look at it. So he was trying to give this a decent bid to get it up there and either make it for a bonus birdie from where he's at or just be right under the basket like he is now just for a tap-in par. So I know he going into this hole at this point, he was a bit frustrated. He was a bit, I shouldn't be at +2, I think is what he is right now. So he was starting to kind of feel that during the round at this point. So moving on to hole 7, 185 foot par 3, probably my favorite hole in the iconic hole of Peter Pan, Monkey Island. Plays as an island, so you have to land inside of this rock wall. If you don't land inside the rock wall after your first throw, you go to the drop zone. Daniel there, I think, was going with his glow tank. He was trying to do that flex line to push and then go back to the basket. Again, it just got an early release, and it hyzered out. Luckily for him, he hit the wall, left him in bounds. He again had a decent look at a birdie, just pushed it to the right, and left himself about a 5-footer for par here. So you can kind of see it on the video. His hand gestures, or if he misses a putt, that's either a birdie putt or a par putt. It kind of starting to set in. On this hole 8, 226 foot par 3, Smitty actually started following us. It was pretty cool that Smitty, Chris Smith from Wichita, one-time world champion, was up in Emporia. He was wanting to watch as many of the Kansas kids as he possibly could. So he was able to catch Daniel first before he started watching 7 and Hudson. But he got to watch Daniel throw this hole 9, and hole 10. And I think it was great for Daniel to see him because I was trying to talk to him and, trying to calm him down to get back into his game. And I was trying to make him laugh. I was trying to make him smile, but it was just, I was having a hard time getting him locked back in. So after this hole, Smitty watched him putt out. After hole 9, he had gone up to Smitty and they kind of talked for a little bit, and it seemed to have helped him because he started to kind of smile a little bit more. He started to starting to laugh a little bit, so he was starting to settle in. Daniel's getting very good about counting other players' strokes and knowing where he's at. He knew coming into hole 9, I can't even remember, but I think he was +2 so far through hole 9, which is a 220-foot par 3. And this one has OB kind of everywhere. So the island from the previous hole plays as OB. And if you go on or over the sidewalks on the right and behind the basket, you're also OB. So on this one, I probably should have told him, and as I mentioned in round 1, he doesn't throw any or many backhands because he had pushed far and then he went OB. I probably should have told him to go ahead and throw a backhand, and maybe he would have been about 100 feet out and he could have just approached with either his tank or with his Omega. I don't think you saw him throw his approach because he had gone kind of quick because he was upset at going OB, but from where he putted right now, that was his throw from his lie from going OB, and then that was his bogey putt right there. So after this hole, after hole 9, that's when he had a chance to talk to Smitty for a little bit. So he was starting to feel a little bit better going into this hole. So going into hole 10, 260-foot par 3, he's going back to that ESP Cicada, which he's thrown it now 3 holes in a row. And he had a really solid throw. He got that to flex just a little bit because you don't want to bring that creek on the left-hand side into play. So he got just enough flex where it held straight and then faded out right of the basket, which he left himself about a 10, 12-footer for birdie. And he was finally able to get his first birdie of the round. And that started to help him settle in. He started to feel a little bit better. He started to have a little bit more fun. So now we were rolling. So moving on to hole 11, 215-foot par 3. This one I think played into Daniel's game because it's more just a flick if you have the power to get up there to the basket. Or I think in one of the podcasts that Hudson was on, there was a backhand route because there was no OB to the right unless you went on the street. So you could have just pushing hyzer around all these bushes on the right and kind of skipped up to the basket. So again, that wasn't something Daniel was going to do because he doesn't have a backhand. So he played the forehand. I think he went with his Z-Lite Nuke OS. Good disc choice, in my opinion. It just flare skipped a little bit too far to the right, but it still gave him an opening where he could pitch up, get close enough to the basket where he's punting for par. So I think this was about a 7 to 10 footer that he left himself with. And as I mentioned before, almost like a broken record, those are putts he typically makes. That one just came out a little early and to the left, so the chains didn't catch and went straight through. So he's tapping out for his bogey there. So through 11 holes, he's +3. Moving on to a very short par 3, hole 12, 169 foot. This one was, it looks like on the map that it's a turnover backhand, forehand flick, or hyzer backhand, which you had the option of going either one of those routes, but it was more of just a straight shot from the tee. If you could just pipe something down the middle here and just have it scoot up right under the basket, you were good. So for the throw, Daniel decided to go with his champion Rhino. He threw it, I think it was a good disc choice. He just threw it low. I think if he would have got the height on it, it would have dropped right under the basket or just skidded up past the basket. So he was outside the circle for his birdie putt, just pushed it to the right, went about 7 feet past the basket. So at this point now he's putting for his par. So he was waiting for a couple of the caddies and a couple of the other players to kind of move out of the way before he finished his putt. So we'll see if he's able to squeak out a hole 12 with the par, which he does. So we're moving on to hole 13, and this one I think plays more for a backhand because you want to go swing it out right and have it skip back to the left. So hole 13, 258-foot par 3. Daniel was choosing to play the forehand turnover, and okay, I thought he went with his Thrasher, but that might have been fourth round. So he's going with his ZSP Cicada here. He again is going with that flex line with this one. So he goes to throw it, but it comes out a little flat, which you did see a little bit of turn there, just not enough. It came out a little high and then faded out. I want to say, what would you say about the circle 2? So he was going to do just a jump putt. He decided to change that up, and he went with just a flick with his Rhino just to get it up to the right. Came out early. Luckily for him, it didn't squeeze out too far to the right, so he left himself about a 7 to 10 footer for his par. So we'll see if he's able to capitalize here and at least get out of hole 13 with a par. Yep, so gets that there, so doesn't let that get out of hand and just finishes with a par there. So hole 14, 275-foot par 3. This one plays more for the forehand. If you trust your turnover, you can go with that turnover route. I know that somebody had aced. I want to say, was it round 4 or was it this round? I can't remember. Somebody aced with a backhand turnover, if I'm not mistaken. I think the player was Ryland Hag. And I guess he had thrown a turnover backhand, and it actually went straight into the pine tree right there in front of the screen, and it kept pushing through, and it hit dead center and just caught. So that's a pretty cool ace. But Daniel here had a really solid throw off the tee. He was inside the circle. He gave himself a decent look at birdie, gave himself a really good bid. It just hit the basket and just pushed back. You can see him shaking his head there because he thought he had it, but unfortunately it was just a little bit low, so it didn't have a chance to go in. So now he's trying to get out of here with a par for hole 14, which he is able to hit dead center, maybe a little bit more to the right, and it catches. And we move on to hole 15, which is a 361-foot par 4. So this one, you'll see here on the screen, you'll see a row of trees that kind of follow like a little curve. So this one, if you trust your backhand, you can do that backhand, but it fits more of a forehand. So he's going out wide. Daniel's going out wide here. He's going with his Z-Lite Nuke because he wants to get a bit of flip at the first row of trees to the left and then just start fading out back to the right. So he has a really good throw, pushes it past that tree, that first tree there on the screen, and gets the skip and the push he wants. So he left himself, I want to say, about 150, maybe 175 foot approach. So he's throwing a second here. So if he gets it close enough, he's going to be able to walk out of hole 15 with a birdie. So he's choosing to go with his champion Rhino. So really good disc choice. He got enough ante on it where it held that for a little bit, and because of the stability of the disc, it started to fight back a little bit to the right. It doesn't give you as much bite on it because it is a lighter disc, but it just gave him enough where it just started to work right, and it just slid and it stopped. So sweet birdie there for Daniel on a par 4, so he's able to get, I think, back down to +2 for the round. So moving on to hole 16, 240-foot par 3. This one is an open hole. This one, the only OB is just the OB to the left. That OB on your right there should never come into play. So it's just mainly get something out there, get it close enough to the basket to give yourself an easy birdie. So Daniel's going the forehand route, going out to the left and trying to get it as close as he can to the basket. So on this one, again, he had a really good throw. Just pushed it just a little far to the right. I think if he would have got a little bit more ante on it, or just aimed a little bit farther to his left, I think he probably would have been within 5 to 10 feet on his birdie putt. So still gave himself a decent look at a birdie. So at this point, I want to say this one might have been 20 feet. So he just pushes it just to the right. So I think he left himself just a 7-footer on his comeback. So this one should be easy for him. It shouldn't get out of hand and give him a bogey. So going through his motion here, and yep, gets a dead center. So gets out of hole 16 with a par. Moving on to hole 17, 252 foot par 3. This one has OB all behind the basket, so you'll see that. So if you throw something in that's coming in too quick, it's going to skip and likely go OB, or if you hit the hill, the basket's kind of on an incline going down. So if you get something that stands up, it has the possibility of rolling OB. So Daniel's choosing to play the flex line. I think it was a good choice. He hugged those trees pretty close, and you'll see his disc stand up, and it rolled. And luckily for him, it didn't roll all the way down the hill. It just stayed just about outside the circle, about 2 feet, 3 feet. So he's looking at a birdie from about, I want to say about 35 feet or so. Good bid. Just a little low, hits the basket, so misses it there. So again, he's not making this a little harder than it needs to be. Just gives himself a par. Almost throws it too hard for his putt and almost kicks out. So final hole, round 2 for Daniel, 268-foot par 3, hole 18. This one has OB all on the left, behind the basket to the right. So you have to try to get something forehand. If you push the OB, you want to have enough stability on the disc to come back to the right. Backhand, something that has enough stability again to hold straight but come back to the basket. And if you miss, you want to miss up here on the hill and not down to the right. Daniel had a really good pull there. I think he was going with the Z-Lite Nuke. Got a good throw, got a little bit low. I think a little higher might have given some more distance, but nonetheless, he had a really good throw. So gives himself a decent look at a birdie, just throws it a little bit high over the basket. So now he left himself, I think this was about a 15-footer from here, maybe 12 feet. So he's going through his motions, and he's trying to finish off his round with a par to finish +2. Good bid. Again, just came out a little bit early, hit the chains left. So unfortunately, he's tapping out his round 2 with the bogey, finishing +3 overall for the round. So, in my opinion, after the round was over, looking at his score, I think he had a decent round. He didn't have a horrible round by any means. It could have been better. And I know Daniel thought it should have been better. He was kind of down throughout the round, as you could tell. So we had to kind of talk to him again after this round and kind of get his spirits back up. And that is one of the biggest things I've been working with Daniel. And I truly think if we can work on him staying positive, smiling, laughing from the beginning to the end, he can play some really good golf. Even with not having a backhand right now, I think he can do a variety of things with turnovers, with putters, with the only mid-range he throws right now is a Mako 3, which is pretty straight for him, and he can get that to turn over. But if we can keep him positive from the beginning all the way to the end, I'm more than positive that he can have a very, very solid round and going into rounds 3 and 4, one of the biggest things that his mom and I were talking to him at the end of this round was not to be upset with how he played. Yes, it could have gone better, but he should always look at the positives, right? He should look at how he played, how some of those holes maybe could have been a little bit worse, but they didn't get worse than a bogey. So after our round again and after our talk, he felt better. He felt in higher spirits. So after we did a couple of things in town and we went back to the Airbnb, he had a chance to, hang out with his cousin Ivan. They were playing outside in the front yard. He felt pretty good in the evening. So I know he went to bed. He said he was ready and looking forward to round 3. He knew he was going back to Jones West, one of the courses that he got to practice quite a bit, and he was saying that he was hoping to shoot either an even or under par round to start kind of fighting his way back in, because at the end of round 2 he did move down to, was it 18th if I'm not mistaken? I just not looking at my notes here, but I think he was 18th. So he had to push up several more spots to get back into that cut line to make it to Saturday. So thank you all for watching. Hope you guys all enjoyed. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And we'll hopefully see you guys here for round 3. And hopefully Daniel is on the commentary to finish out his rounds 3 and 4 of Junior Worlds. See ya.